Oh, so hot. Anyway, hello everyone, it's Lennon, and today I'm going to do another fun tag. I love doing tags because someone else comes up with the questions and all I have to do is answer them. So, this tag, My Tarot Growth, was set out by our lovely Becca. I will leave her video link and channel link below for you to check her out. I found the tag first through Becca, but then it seemed to be such a stalk-worthy tag. I've just found myself putting the tag in the search bar and searching up all the new ones that would come out. It seemed to bring people out of their, like, what their channel's already doing. So a lot of us who have channels, like, we have a certain thing that we do on each channel. Like, there's an unboxing channel and a review channel and, you know, a discussion channel or whatever. And we kind of bullet point some of these questions, like in multiple videos on our channels. We don't really answer the questions outright, like Becca's asking us to do. We tend to kind of just say, oh yeah, you know, I bought my first deck when I was blah blah blah, and then that's it. So I felt like this really brought all of our stories out in the open, and I think that that's a beautiful thing. It's a way for all of us to see how may our journeys have been similar or different. I decided to bring my own. Now, like I said, I had touched on some of these points in previous videos, like my first deck. My very first deck was actually given to me at a yard sale. Now, I'd always been drawn to, like, witchy, you know, ephemera and iconography and the tarot in general, like, haphazardly, because it was involved in books and in magazines that would have witches in them. They would be like doing tarot cards. When I was at this yard sale, the hostess saw me pick up the deck, and I was thumbing through the cards, and it, you know, it was in this box, and she had a sticker on it. It was like $5. I think that says $5. It's been too many years now. As of this moment, that was probably, so this is probably like 12 years ago right now, that I was at this yard sale, and I picked the Aquarian Tarot up from this hostess. We had a couple of, we had a dialogue about it, and I liked the art, but I really thought that by being named the Aquarian Tarot, it would have some sense of Aquarius zodiacal symbolism in it, and that wasn't really the point, I don't think, of the deck. The backs are very Aquarius, and the backs don't really go with the fronts. This is like an Art Deco. The hostess did tell me about David Palladini. We had a discussion about that and how this was a Rider-Waite clone, even though at that time I had no idea what she was talking about. And I remember thumbing through the deck, telling the hostess that it did jive with me. It was the only tarot deck that was available. There was a whole bunch of ephemera there that I really liked, but as far as tarot, this was the only one. And they just gave it to me. They were like, look, if it jobs with you, take it. If you want the whole story on that, go check out the other tag I've done called First, Last, Always, where I really tell the entire story. Like, I don't know why, but just tell the whole entire story in that video. I'll leave it up in the cards for you. And I played with it for a few. So anyway, I brought it home, played with it for a little bit, but the images of the Aquarian Tarot I couldn't really get into tarot. I didn't know how to study it. I wasn't really trying to study it. I was just wanting it in my collection as far as witchy ephemera goes. And it wasn't until I was online a couple of years after that, okay, so maybe around 9 or 10 years ago now, that I saw that if I wanted to learn the tarot, I had to do it in a Rider-Waite Smith fashion, or get the Rider-Waite Smith deck as it is the original tarot. That's where I would get the most juice when it comes to the meanings and learning and all that. So I picked up a few books at the library about it. I think like I think her name's Joan Bunting, maybe, like that Everything You Need to Know About Tarot book. Anyway, picked up a couple of books at the library about the tarot, and then I remember picking this one up. I'll leave a picture here. I don't have a hard copy because I just kept checking it out of the library. In that book, it talked about journaling and how if I had an actual notebook where I could write down the meanings and then write down my meanings. It went into intuition a little bit about how there are concrete meanings, but then I need to be able to pull from my own intuition about how each card feels. And I found that so calming, because then it was like, yeah, there were firm meanings, but then also I could go at my own pace with that, and it wasn't like a hurry up and wait type of a situation with the meanings. I could really go at my own pace, keep writing down how I feel about the meanings, and then how I feel about cards with other cards. And so I picked up one of these. Ever since I carried around a purse, I've carried around one of these composition notebooks. I started this. I filled up the entire thing with meanings, and I did it in like a Venn diagram way, where I had the word, and then a keyword, and then the concrete meaning, my meaning, the 21 door theory, which is basically just like the fool's journey theory, and then some things that I'd picked up out of articles, and then in the blue, I even went back later and put in how they break down in terms of archetype. I was fascinated. I've always been fascinated with Jung and his work, so I definitely wanted that. Then I did like suit by suit, what the swords mean, like an all-encompassing. And I just was so severe with this notebook that it's full, so I can't add anything to it now. And I've made several journals since this, but as this is my first, I tend to look back at this and really go, yeah, all of this is still relevant, but the meanings now seem to be so much bigger than what I put on this paper. And that's what's beautiful to see with my evolution, this tarot journey evolution for me, is because I was so hard on myself about knowing the meanings, forcing my intuition, which is counterproductive. But I did those, and I was so severe with myself as to how I was supposed to tarot, that now it just seems to be so much more expanded than it was back then. So I think the other question was like, what was your first deck? I already answered that. And then what was the latest deck that you got? I do not buy a lot of decks. I'm not a collector. I think I may have 30 total, and if I don't actively work with it, it does not stay. The latest deck that I got was a have to for me. I've always loved the Golden Girls TV show ever since I was a little girl, when my grandparents were watching it. I think I was around 17, 18, and it used to come on late night TV, so me and my mom would stay up late and watch it, and it would just be hilarious. I have to have it for like aesthetic purposes, for like a call to my childhood and a call to my mother and grandmother that watched it with me, and it was like this whole familial kind of a feeling that it's like I had to have it, knowing that I would have to force myself to use it because I really don't like kitschy decks. I have a whole video on my first impressions showing a couple of my other Golden Girls items that I have in my collection with Golden Girls. I'm going to leave that up here for you. I'm wearing a beautiful blonde bombshell wig in that. I put a little acting spin in it, so go watch that. It's pretty fun. But when I purchased this deck, I rewatched the whole series on Hulu, and I realized, damn, there are a lot of areas where we have not gone anywhere. I mean, especially in terms of racism and how we treat the elderly, how we treat elderly women. There's just a lot of things that we still don't do in our culture and society now. That was, and to think, I mean, the audacity of that still being, some of those series, those episodes still being prevalent today. And that was in the 1980s. That's scary, to just be fucking honest. Becca asks about art. Has your art style changed? Not really. Did like the cleanliness of the Rider-Waite. However, there were some problematic cards in there for me that I really had to sit with. It wasn't until I found Kellyanne Maddox channel. I've been with her since like day 3, okay? Literally been here with her since day 1. Almost day 1. Day 3. And it wasn't until I found her channel on YouTube that I started noticing there are ways that you can feel about certain cards, and you need to draw from that, pull from that. She taught me all kinds of stuff about the shadow, and there was just so much to learn that I had no idea. And that her channel took me on like down tunnels and rabbit holes and stuff that the tarot helps with, that I had no idea, like other than just like tarot readings. Like I said, it wasn't until day 3 of her baby channel, because I remember, I think I subscribed to her when she had 1,200. That's it, 1,200 subscribers when I first hit that subscribe button to her channel. And she's got 41K now. This is just insane. I've been with you, Kellyanne. So she taught me a lot about the tarot and how it can be used for multiple, all kinds of, down all kinds of avenues. And so the art, because I don't buy a lot of decks, I bought decks that were clones at the beginning, and then I shied away from that. And then when I really had a spiritual witchcraft practice, I started wanting decks that I could link with my spiritual practice. So I actually have decks that I use for inner child work, astral travel work, shadow work, ancestor veneration work, and all the things that I would use in my spiritual witchcraft practice. I wanted some decks to back up some certain activities that I would do within those lines. And so I got Ellen Lorenzi Princess decks, I got the Greenwood Tarot. There's a lot of shamanistic aspects of my practice that I incorporate as like a broad generalized term. So, and the Greenwood really spoke to me in terms of that. The Shining Tribe Tarot, I even bought the Mother Peace Tarot, even though there's been some controversy around that lately that I'm looking into heavily right now. And those types of like primitive art decks that pulled me into, let's take the bare bones of what our ancestors may have used these archetypes for in their lives, and I can call to them, like over space and time, through space and time, and link with them. And that's how my spiritual practice is now. And so I use the majority of my decks for those purposes. So as far as art, no. If it's jiving with me, it's jiving with me. As far as systems, like I said, my mother deck, I learned from it, I grew with it, I evolved with it for years, was the Rider-Waite system. I love the Rider-Waite system. When I still feel like tangles and knots in my tarot journey, in my tarot practice, when I still feel like I've been hurt by a tarot deck, like I said with the Mother Piece, I want to go back to the Rider-Waite. That's my mother. I need healing. I go back to the Rider-Waite. I go back to where I've which deck I've learned from, which system I've learned from. But really, it started with the Rider-Waite system. I remember learning, after years of learning with playing and using the Rider-Waite, I realized that there were actually 3 systems of tarot. So I felt like I had to pick up a Marseille, and I had to pick up I had to look into Thoth. And this was just like an article that I was reading online. There was no pictures. And I thought, I need to check some of this out. Then I was at a secondhand shop and picked up this cheap ass Marseille I paid $5 for this. And it's really different from the most popular Marseilles that are on the market now, like the Dudal and whatever the other popular ones are. It's really different than that. As far as the pips are styled. They're not styled like normal. But the cleanliness worked for me. I was like, okay. And then I started having a whole journal devoted to the Marseille, and I worked with that. I worked with it for a few, but then I kept going back to the Rider-Waite, and I was like, okay. So I put that up for a while. Then I actually read an article on the Thoth, because I was like, damn it, I need to find out something about this. And that article actually had pictures, and I was dumbfounded. When I say my soul started crying out, this deck is yours, this deck is yours, this deck is yours, like it belonged to no one but me, that's exactly what happened. They had some pictures, and it didn't go too in depth of meanings or anything. I think the article was on the changes that the Thoth, the Thoth versus the Rider-Waite, and It's a very different system. And so at first I was intimidated, but because of the soul cry, I was like, I have to have it. So I got it. And at this point, I will say that I've been working with the Thoth for, okay, now I always associate things with like my kids' age. Okay, like going off my kids' age here. I've probably been working with the deck probably 5 or 6 years now. So it's probably 5 or 6 years ago now that I picked up the Thoth. And I immediately, when I purchased the Thoth deck, I immediately knew, I guess because of that article, that I had to pick up the Book of Thoth by Crowley. So I picked that book up. Then I've always been an avid reader, so I just like read that like a novel. And it was I loved his writing style. I loved how he wrote that, but it was like really kind of rambly and stuff like that. So I picked up Lon Milo DuQuette's book on it, and that helped a lot. And then I picked up like several books after that. But once I started knowing that, like knowing the system and following along with the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, and it got me into studying, and then it got me into, it got me more into scrying. I've always been able to scry, but it got me into scrying through tarot, which I'd never done before. It got me into learning about Hermeticism and other forms of occult magic and ceremonial magic, and it took me into way more places than the Rider-Waite system did, or the Rider-Waite-Smith system did. So this will be, I call the Rider-Waite my mother deck because I learned and grew with it. But this is like my best friend / lover deck. Like, this is the one that I've chosen to be my life partner. System calls to me. The system of it calls to me for some reason, and I study with it. I use it in my witchcraft practice. I use it in my spiritual practice. I use it for tarot, just generalized tarot stuff. And I love it. It'll be my always deck. So there's a little, I did feel like I rambled a lot there, but that is a little on how my tarot journey has evolved, and I will continue to stalk this tag because it's so stalk worthy. And I hope that it reaches you, Becca, because I want you to see all the videos of the tag that you put out, and I hope to see everybody again on the channel. Much love.